Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Chanel, and today we are doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I love watching these videos and I'm really excited to do it for the first time. I did also film a mid-year goals kind of like reading stats check-in, so I will link that in the description below. But without further ado, I've got a pretty precarious stack here, so let's just go and dive right in. So the first question is the best book I've read so far this year. That is pretty predictable if you've seen any of my videos, but it is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I love this one. I've gone on and on and on about it. It does also qualify for multiple other answers, so I'll quickly mention it then too, but I did pick multiple books for most of the questions because I didn't want tons of repetition and this, that, and whatnot, but this one is a new all-time favorite. It is very near and dear to my heart. I loved it. I loved it so much. I will link my review in the description below for this one as well. Okay, so what's hilarious is another one of my favorite books so far this year. I actually have, like, in the middle of my stack, because it also pertains to another question, so I'm not going to dig for it and I'll just mention it when it comes up. So the best sequel I've read so far this year is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I love, love, love this book. I gave it 5 stars and it was amazing. It was such a perfect continuation. I think I've seen there's a 3rd book. But it looks like it's still in Japanese, so I'm hoping there's a 3rd book that will get translated to English, but I love these books. I think I preferred this one. I had a stronger emotional reaction to the first one, but I think, I'm trying to figure out which story went with what. I think I kind of preferred this one. Anyway, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then, new release I haven't read yet, but want to. Oh, there's 2 for this. I need to grab the other one. Okay, well, I have just started this one, so I don't know if it fully counts, but I'm literally like 10 pages in, so. Still Life by Sarah Winman. This was just released at the start of June, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's a historical fiction set during World War II, set in Italy, and it's just, in a nutshell, it's just everything I want, and I'm really excited to get into it. And then the other one was just released again at the start of June, and that is Seed by Joanna Walsh, and this is published by No Alibis Press. I'm really excited to get to this one. I think it's going to be very unique. I can't even really describe it because I don't fully know what it's going to be like, but yeah. Anyway, you will see it come up in my TBR. For ones that came out a bit earlier in the year that I haven't gotten to yet, The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. I think that one came out in January, I think. Anyway, I'm extremely excited to get to that one. And The Drowned City by KJ Maitland. I really want to get to that one as well. Just want to get to all the books, you know? Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Okay, so I am filming this on June 24th. It's probably going to come out, you know, 1st or 2nd week of July. But today, I think there was a book published, so I'm like, does this count? I don't think so, because it's still in June. But Cheerful Years by A.J. Pierce. I want to read so bad. As well, Ivana Lynch's memoir, The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting. I cannot wait for that one to come out. I am so excited for that. Women of Troy by Pat Barker. That's coming out in, is it August or October? Yeah, either way, cannot wait for that. I'm excited for that one to come out. So yeah, I'm just scatting my brain. I'm never good about knowing about releases very far ahead of time. I'm never good at it, but those ones. Biggest disappointment. I have 3. Now, 2 out of the 3 are not bad books at all. They are not bad books at all. I just really hyped them up to myself and they didn't meet those expectations. But they're not bad books in the slightest. The first one, though, I don't even have, and that's I Was Anastasia by Ariel Lohan. Unfortunately, That book really did not do it for me. I gave it 2 stars. Being honest with myself, it's probably 1 star, because I told myself a 1 star would be if I DNF'd a book. But if the stuff that happened near to the end happened in the middle or in the beginning, I would have DNF'd it. So the problem was that added to the disappointment is it's one of the few books I brought with me from Canada 3 years ago, and I was so excited about it. And when I finally read it, it did not do it for me. The timeline I found really inconsistent, like I couldn't follow what was happening from one time to the next. And just some choices that were made about how some different traumas were presented, I really strongly disagreed with. So that one was the main big bad disappointment. The other 2, one, it is a precarious stack. Wow. The first one was The African Queen by C.S. Forster. Now, like, being fair, I think I gave this 3 stars. So, like, it wasn't that I really disliked it, but I thought I was going to really love this book. Like, I thought this was going to be, like, a new all-time favorite kind of thing, and it definitely wasn't. I didn't really care about the characters, which is very unusual for me. I typically prefer character-driven books, but I preferred the adventure in this one. And there was a lot of just very old-fashioned, sexist beliefs. And being fair, the characters did break those at points, but it was constantly stated. And yeah, I just wasn't really for it. It was like, okay, well, that existed. Like, I can see why people love it for sure, but for me personally, it just isn't really what I wanted or expected. The other one, and again, it's not that I dislike this book, it's just that I really, really hyped it up in my head. I didn't dislike it at all though, so don't take it like that. It's just, it didn't land as solidly as I expected it to. And that is Margaret Atwood's The Penelope-ad. Again, I think I gave this 3 stars, and for me, a 3 star is kind of like, it existed, like, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. It was just, it was meh, it was there. I really like the idea behind this. It's basically Penelope's story. It is her, it's Odysseus' wife, Penelope, and she's telling her side of it and her story, and it's from the point of view from after she's passed on, so when she's in the underworld. And I really like the premise, I really like the idea. I just found it all in all a little bit dull by the end, and I feel bad for that, but I don't know, I prefer the first half to the second half, but it just kind of felt monotonous after a little bit. And nothing really drastically changed from the first to the second, and I don't know if almost in a way that was the problem. But anyway, it ended up being a 3 star, and I'd been so excited for it, so it was just kind of like, nah. It was a fine book, not a problem with it, it just didn't hit me as hard as I intended, as I thought it would. So yeah, that's that one. Then the next question is biggest surprise. I had that one. Oh, there it is. I literally have 4 piles of books, so it's a bit of a search and find. And of course, it's on the precarious stack. So the biggest surprise, and it was such an enjoyable and fantastic surprise, and that was Persuasion by Jane Austen. In around 2014, 2015, I tried reading it, and I didn't get very far in before I put it down, and I was like, oh, this is not for me, and it was the first ever Austen I picked up, so I was just kind of like, is Austen an author I like? Then I read Pride and Prejudice last year, loved it, and I wanted to give this one another go, and my friend got it for me, and I really loved it. I really loved it. I felt like it had a slow start. I felt the same with Pride and Prejudice though, so maybe that's something I need to keep in my mind for any of her works. I don't know. But was the whole thing like perfection in and of itself to me? No, like the pacing wasn't fantastic for a good half of the book. Yeah, I felt like the pacing could have been different, but the main character, the scenes, like the settings, the locations, there's the word, and the romance, oh my gosh, the romance was amazing. So I was so thrilled that I love this book, especially since I'd been on like a 2-month-long reading slump. I enjoyed the books that I read, but I just was having trouble getting into any book. and this like broke that, and I was able to just blast through a bunch of books directly after. So I'm also very thankful to this book. It was such a nice surprise. And they're falling. That did not take long. Okay. So favorite new author. There's a good few, which is great. Tashi Kawaguchi is for sure one for the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. J.R.R. Tolkien. I have dove into his works this year and I'm absolutely loving them. And then Jennifer Saint. Said it would come up multiple times. It's not the last. Honestly, just multiple. Yeah. Jan Carson. Hold on, I feel like I need to hold up one of her books. Jan Carson. I just finished this book a few days ago, and her writing it's amazing. It's just, her writing is fantastic. It makes you feel things. It really makes you feel things. Ah! They're falling again. Oh. Okay. Right. Next is newest fictional crush. I don't really get newest fictional crushes. I'm gonna think of like, because I don't like skipping questions. So I'm gonna think of a replacement question for the end. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. Newest favorite character. Okay, there's a couple. So first of all, in A Net for Small Fishes, which is amazing, I really loved our main protagonist, Anne Turner. She's just fantastic. She knows what she wants. She's very independent, and she's from, it's set in the 1600s. Yeah, 1609. And that is when, women had to depend on men for everything. And she resents that. She's aware of it and, figuring it out. But she's such a loving mother, loving wife. And then we meet her new friend, Frances, Frankie, and the friendship that forms between the two of them. I just love them both as friends. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love them. Then another one would be The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. I'll also read anything that she writes now because I just love this book so much. While most of the characters aren't particularly really likable, they're so unique. Even the ones you're really supposed to not like, they're just so unique, so well-rounded, so well-developed, and the way they were written, it was the most unique set of characters I think I've ever come across, and I really, really loved it. Yeah, that would be them. And I just thought of one other. Hold on. And the other one is from Daughters of Night by Laura Shepard Robinson. And it's Carolyn. Or Caro, and she is just so independent. She's gonna do what she feels is right and what she feels is best. She's not gonna listen to anybody who tries to get in her way, no matter what. And I loved her for it. I really, really, really loved her. Then, the next one is Book That Made You Cry. Hold on. That's a few. First of all, and again, I'm sorry, I feel bad for mentioning the same book multiple times, and I tried not to, because I could have said this for favorite character, but anyway, Ariadne, I can't ignore it for this one, because I cried so hard when I finished this book, sobbed, not a nice little cry, no, I sobbed when I finished this book, so, yeah, it's, oof. Basically, that's what it is. Then Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is one of the other favorite books of the year that was stuck in the stack. This one made me cry in almost a healing way. When I finished the book, I just had a little cry, but it was just I felt my soul was a bit more stitched together. And And it's interesting because it's not like a happy book. They are sad. They're typically sad stories, but quite often bittersweet. But when I finished it, it was just like, I was very thankful that I'd read it. So it was amazing. It was so good. Oh, loved it. Then, I didn't cry for this one, but as well, this one doesn't really have any characters, so like it didn't really apply to most of the questions, but it did make me emotional. And it's pretty clear why. It is Ken Follett's Notre Dame. So it's basically an essay. It's a short history of the meaning of cathedrals. And I adored it. And the first chapter is completely around the day that Notre Dame burned. So there's the emotions. Because I remember that day so clearly. And I love Notre Dame so much. And it just, I didn't cry as such, but I got very emotional. It's just amazing. And then the rest of it, he goes into like deep into the history, and I loved it. I loved it so much, and I want to reread it like a ton. But yeah, it was emotional. It was definitely emotional. Then let me see, book that made me happy. I have two for this one. Basically all the other positive questions could like be applicable to this, but first one that made me happy was Referendum by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the first work of Tolkien's I ever read. It made me really just happy that I'd read one of his works. And it was so well done. It was immediately nostalgic, even though it's not like it was brand new. It immediately felt nostalgic. And I was instantly picturing, like, in the future, reading it to my children and everything. And I was just so happy I finally read something Tolkien wrote. And I enjoyed it as much as I did. I really, really loved it. I loved reading that whole treasury. But this one just will forever have a very special place in my heart. Because it opened up the world of Tolkien to me. And I was just so excited about that. I was really so excited. And then the other one, kind of a similar idea of opening up new worlds, is Postcard Stories by Jan Carson. Basically, I'd never read short story collections before, and I wanted to get into them, and this is the first one that I picked up. So that was special in and of itself, as well as that I've been really wanting to read books from set in Northern Ireland and from Northern Irish authors, and that is also what this is, and it's set in Belfast, and I loved it. Like, I have my favorites. Some of them just really stopped me in my tracks kind of thing. And I was so happy I loved it as much as I did, because it showed me that there was this entire new world of books that I could go into, and that I did in fact love short stories, which I was a skeptic about. So this could also count for a big surprise too. But I was thrilled. To have a book from a Belfast author set in Belfast, and as well as that, one that opens up this entire new experience for me. So I was really, really happy about that. Then, okay, let me see. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. I'm sorry for mentioning it so much. I did my best, because it literally could have answered every positive question. I've tried not to dwell on it, but like, obviously, Ariadne, like, look at this. Look at it. It is gorgeous. It's so beautiful. This cover is genuinely the most beautiful book I own, period. The other would be Circe by Madeline Miller, because the dust cover on that one is stunning, but that one has an insanely gorgeous naked hardcover. This one's just like a standard, a naked hardcover, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful color, but it's really the dust jacket, and then the end papers are gorgeous too. That's what shines with this one. That's the last time I'm mentioning Ariadne, I promise. For this video. It'll come up in the future. Okay, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I'm going to kind of change the wording of that from need to want, because if I say need, I'm going to feel like I'm putting pressure on myself, and that's going to stress me out. So there's a few that I would like to read by the end of the year. And we'll see if that happens. The first one is The Adventures and Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, or just any Sherlock book. I did start reading this at the end of last year, and I was really, 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 really loving it. I just feel like with Sherlock, though, it needs to kind of be like fall or winter by a fireplace. I could just get that vibe from it. But I do miss Sherlock at the same time, but I have so many things I also want to read. So I'm very hopeful I will get back to Sherlock before the year is out, basically. Yeah. And then, genuinely, if I'm being completely and utterly honest, I don't think I'm going to get to this one before the year's done. But I hope I do. This one I started last year, and I had it figured out, like, mathematically to finish it by the end of the year. And that is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And that's how far I am. Just that. Which, honestly, I'm pleased. There's, like, a bit of a dent. But it's literally, like, a tenth. I love the story of Les Miserables. I've seen the musical and adored it. I haven't seen the movie yet. But man, can Hugo just really talk. And it's not like, it's not in the most accessible kind of way. I'm very far behind. I was supposed to be reading like 3 pages a day, and I've not done that since like the second week of January. So the thing is, if I don't finish it this year, I don't know that I ever will. So I'm starting to get really aware of that, because I started it at the end of last year, and it's just like it's big, like it's a beast. So what I might do is see about getting an audiobook to help me along with it. I had borrowed an audiobook for it before, but I found like it was just going over my head, so I'll try again. But yeah, it's just like, it's the kind of one where it's still in my currently reading on Goodreads, but it has not been currently being read since like, I want to say October or November last year. But I don't want to take it off the shelf of that, because then will I just not pick it up ever again? So yeah. Okay. Now, for the makeup questions, since I skipped Fictional Crush, I thought of 2. One is like, what book has had your favorite setting so far this year? As well as, what book would you just recommend to everybody? So I guess I'm going to do 2, because I can't decide which one I want to answer more. Because I'm kind of like, what would I like to know? For a book that had my favorite setting, I didn't think of my answers beforehand, of course. Why did I give myself such a hard question? See, I love the setting of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. You just want to go in and have a cup of coffee. The way it's described is so cozy. It's so cozy. Like, I read The Hobbit, that one could totally count. You know what? Yeah, that one. I'll get that one. That will do. Okay, so for favorite setting, I love how I gave myself such a hard question. And it's hard in the way where there's so many. It's pretty much, it could be applicable to almost every book I've read. A lot of like settings that I love are very dark and atmospheric, so it's kind of odd being like, I love this, because it's like, well, I wouldn't want to be in it. But I loved it. But this one, the setting, just all the locations were described so fantastically. I felt like it was like watching a movie. And that is Caligula by Simon Turney. So this is set, it's another historical fiction. It's set in Rome in 37 AD. But it has these beautiful, beautiful, like natural, descriptions of nature. And I just, it made me like yearn for the water. It was beautiful. Just the descriptions of like overlooking, you know, here and there and everything. It was just gorgeous. Now for a book that I've read that I would just recommend to anybody, because like not all books I would recommend to everybody, you know, that I've read. See, I have one in mind. I've mentioned it a few times, so I'm going to see if there's another one. And it's Before the Coffee Gets Cold, FYI. That one I would recommend to everybody. Okay, I might have to change this question and do it a bit by genre, because I'm like, I don't know. Okay, out of the historical fictions I've read, one that I would recommend to everyone who's interested in historical fiction would be The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock. Yeah, I would say that one. Yeah. Okay, then Greek mythology. I'm just going for the main genres I've read. Greek mythology, almost all of them have just been fantastic. But the top two would be Ariadne and A Thousand Ships. It's fantastic. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And magical realism, again, I haven't really done much magical realism yet. It's been pretty much Before the Coffee Gets Cold, yeah. Okay, that's it. That's them. That's it. So that is my mid-year freakout book tag, or mid-year book freakout, or whatever it is. Sorry that as many as the titles were repeated as they were. But I guess that just goes to show I've read some really, really phenomenal books. Let me know what your answers would be, or if you've made a video for it, let me know. I will go check it out. And if you want to like, comment, and subscribe, I'd really, really appreciate that. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.